Lord Lexden.
My Lords, I beg leave to ask the question standing in my name on the order paper.
Minister, Lord Greenhouse.
The history and traditions of this country are very important, and the tapestry of our historic counties is one of the bonds that draws the nation together. We support various initiatives to celebrate our historic counties and encourage local leaders across Great Britain to do the same.
My Lords, do not our historic counties enable us to recall so many elements of our long and glorious past? Should they not appear, historic counties, as a matter of course on all maps? Should they not be used for all ceremonial occasions, rather than, as in some cases, more recent artificial creations?
My noble friend is right to raise this issue, and the government has made steps to ensure that it is easier to recognise historic counties. In 2014, planning rules were changed to allow councils to put up boundary signs marking traditional English counties, and in 2015 the government commissioned Ordnance Survey to produce historic county and ceremonial county boundary data sets, and we're very open to other ideas.
Lord Blunkett.
My Lords, the National Insurance hike last week skewed the Barnett formula, funding under the Barnett formula, still further. If the historic county of Yorkshire, with a population slightly larger than Scotland, had its own Barnett formula, it would receive an extra £12 billion. Wouldn't that be levelling up?
My Lords, I did think the supplementary questions could go in any sorts of directions, but I recognise that the noble Lord is a proud Yorkshireman and will do all he can to ensure that the county gets the resources it needs.
My Lords, in the preservation of Britain's historic counties, will the government reassure your Lordships that they will not make more changes to the way they're governed?
My Lords, I recognise that we need stability, and I point out that in many areas we haven't seen significant change. I think the last reorganisation in London, where I was a local councillor, was in 1965, which was, I have to say, before I was born, and we recognise that we do need stability in our administrative structures.
Lord Wallace of Saltaire.
My Lords, all surveys suggest that Yorkshire has one of the strongest senses of common identity of any region or county in England. Historically as a single county, but occasionally historically divided into three, the government seems nevertheless determined to divide it into four, and just forced a reorganisation onto North Yorkshire, each with their own elected mayor. Why has the government insisted on disregarding very strong representation from almost all councils in Yorkshire in the way it has pushed its particular version of devolved, I say that in inverted commas, government?
My Lords, I point out the Greenhouse is a Lancastrian name, so I dispute the fact that it's second to Yorkshire, but that's a matter for debate. Now, on devolution, that's taken a degree of local consultation and decision-making, and of course what we're seeking to find is to reflect functional and economic areas in our devolution programme, and that it's very important that it continues to be locally led.
Lord Hannon of Kingsclere.
My Lords, the maiming of our historic counties in the Heath years, the destruction of some of the oldest political units in the world, was one of many lamentable acts emanating from that ministry. It may be a bit much to restore completely the administrative status quo ante, but will my noble friend the Minister at least undertake to align ceremonial counties with the 92 historic counties that make up England, Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland?
My noble friend has called for that realignment, but we don't have any plans. I can't reassure him. But, you know, things in government do change, and he is making his case very strongly.
Ms Blake of Leeds.
If I can emphasise the strong feeling about Yorkshire in this chamber, I'm happy to do so. As we've heard, Britain's historic counties are central to local identities. Yorkshire is the perfect example of that. Unfortunately, the government has resisted the locally led One Yorkshire devolution deal supported by 20 out of 22 local authorities, which would celebrate our historic county by bringing power, resources and jobs to the region, allowing it to develop its full potential. Does the government have any plans to reassess their policy on this and support the ambition of the Yorkshire Leaders Board and the One Yorkshire Committee, which has cross-party support from members of these benches?
My Lords, we continue to look at these devolution matters, and as the Noble Baroness knows, we did consider One Yorkshire, but we're some way along the lines of creating mayors in the different regions, but recognise that there's a real proud tradition in Yorkshire that we should reflect in our national way of life.
Lord Randall of Uxbridge.
My Lords, I should declare that I am a Vice Chairman of the All-Party Historic Counties Group and a proud son of Middlesex. Would my noble friend and fellow Middlesaxan, I believe, agree with me that just changing the administrative boundaries shouldn't in any way harm the importance of those historic counties, and perhaps he would agree to a meeting with the All-Party Group and our indomitable Special Advisor, Mr Russell Grant, so we can discuss these matters.
Well, my noble friend makes that very easy. I've even got Russell Grant's book on historic counties. He's had a great impact on our department, and I'm very pleased to meet the All-Party Group and Mr Middlesex. And yes, I am a proud wearer of a Middlesex tie, admittedly when I was younger, fitter and svelter. But it was very important to consider these issues.
My Lord, as one of the members of this House who was born, bred and still resides in the West Riding of Yorkshire, could I assure my noble friend that this government and the new Secretary of State would be immensely popular across the whole of Yorkshire if they were finally to overturn the vandalism of the early 70s and restore the territorial integrity and names of the ancient ridings of God's own county.
My Lords, there's a very strong Yorkshire theme today, and I have to say this government proudly flew the Yorkshire flag outside our headquarters building to mark Yorkshire Day, and the beautiful flag was part of the display in Parliament Square. And they flew for a week to mark Historic County Flags Day on the 23rd of July, and we recognise that people should take great pride in their local identities, and we continued to do so irrespective of the local administrative areas.
Lord Holmes of Richmond.
My Lords, would my noble friend agree that our historic counties have a critical role to play in the levelling up agenda with their proximity to the people and enabler of local identity? Can I also ask him whether he's ever had the opportunity to visit Worcestershire County Cricket Ground, surely one of the loveliest spots in the world to spend a sunny summer's afternoon?
Yeah. My Lords, my travel schedule is changing with every question. And my noble friend, I'm very happy to. I haven't been to Worcestershire. I'm very happy to take in a visit to see the delights of that particular county grind, particularly over a delightful English summer. And of course, we do recognise, this government does recognise that historic counties are a very important part of our identity, and they need to be promoted wherever possible.
Flight.
I support Lord Lexden's request. County boundaries have been changed in the past, particularly by the Heath government, which mercifully were restored subsequently. There can, however, I think, be some case to amend boundaries, largely to accommodate urban and population developments. I suggest county boundaries might be reviewed every 25 years to check whether growth in urban areas within them needs to be addressed.
Not a good idea.
Well, sounds like someone's preempting my response. Now, we need to recognise that historic counties are there and part of the fabric and our history. We also need to recognise functional economic areas, and they do change with time. And obviously, we will reflect our administrative boundaries as the demography of the country changes.